and welcome back to another TF2 weapons tutorial. Today, we're gonna be talking.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hey,
Who the hell are you?
well, I'm you, but the medic version of you, and technically, since you used the soldier one version of you for the wasp tutorial, you should use me for the injector.
Wow!
Oh fuck, that hurts.
Ahem. Anyways, today we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite Creators.tf weapons, the Hypodermic Injector. The weapon that seems to get reworked every other week, so if this weapon gets reworked 2 days after I put this video out, I'm probably gonna go scream into a pillow or something. The Hypodermic Injector is a melee weapon for the medic. Its stats are very complicated, so let me take you through this step by step. Starting off with the simple stuff, this weapon boasts a 25% damage penalty and a 20% slower swing speed. You won't be using this thing for combat very often, and these downsides encourage that philosophy a little bit more. Moving on to the upsides, you need to charge up the injector by healing 350 HP to teammates. This can be through most forms of healing besides the Crusader's crossbow, since that was nerfed a while back. Remember that unlike Uber Charge, you don't gain any charge by healing someone at full overheal, since you technically aren't really healing them for any HP. Overhealing teammates still does charge the injector though, to try and not confuse you here. After you charge up the weapon, hitting an ally will do two things. First, you'll heal that teammate for 180 HP. Second, your teammate will have a status effect applied to them for 4 seconds, based on which minigun you have equipped. For the stock minigun, you'll apply the battalion's backup effect to your ally. This means your ally has 100% crit resistance, 50% sentry damage resistance, and 35% damage resistance, base damage resistance. For the Kritzkrieg, you will apply the buff banner effect to your ally, meaning that they'll have guaranteed mini crits for the duration of the effect. For the quick fix, you'll apply the Contra effect, meaning that they'll get a speed boost and some lifesteal. And finally, for the Vaccinator, you'll give your target the selected resistance shield for the duration of the effect. While this weapon is pretty bad in combat, only doing 49 damage per swing and swinging slower than stock, that's not its intended use. You're more focused on charging up the injector and using its upside at the most influential time to get the most value out of it. The first and most obvious situation of most medics is healing your pocket when they're taking heavy amounts of damage or are at low health. The 180 health healed is enough to bring most classes up to full or more, and can turn the tide of a fight much like how the crossbow can. The buff, on the other hand, can actually go both ways. While you're using the injector in conjunction with something like the Vaccinator and the Quick Fix, the buff is more influential one in the middle of a fight, so using it when your pocket is taking a ton of damage is even more effective. But for weapons like the stock minigun, especially the Kritzkrieg, you can actually get a ton of value when hitting someone just before they're about to get into a fight. Especially with the Kritzkrieg, since you can use the guaranteed mini crits the buff gives you to catch teams by surprise and get some really influential picks. The stock minigun's buff can also be used just before a soldier or demo or really any class jumps into a large group of enemies or is about to take a large amount of damage, like walking into a sentry nest. Speaking of buffs, building them up is a really important step, and doing it effectively is key to making this weapon as viable as possible. You want to treat your charge much like your Uber Charge, and try and heal hurt teammates as much as possible, since that builds up the injector the fastest. As mentioned before, the crossbow barely builds any charge, if not any, so try to avoid using it to heal teammates if possible. If you're newer to Medic, or just need a refresher on some of the more in-depth mechanics of the class, let me introduce you to crit heals. Crit heals are essentially a boost in your overall healing rate on teammates who haven't taken damage in a while. It starts at 10 seconds and ramps up to its fullest at 15 seconds, essentially tripling your healing rate on that target. This is an important thing to know in all forms of medic gameplay, but you can use it to your advantage while using the injector, since it'll help build the injector's charge essentially 3 times as fast. Pretty important stuff. Applying the buff is just as important as obtaining the buff, so let's talk about some buff etiquette. First, unless you're in some sort of scenario that can justify omitting this rule, try to apply the buff to the more important combat classes, like soldiers, demos, and heavies. You really shouldn't be using this thing to quickly get hurt classes back into combat like you do with the crossbow, so Avoid using this thing on snipers, spotters, and NGs unless you can find a good reason to actually do so. When applying the buff to your teammates, you have to remember that you need to be in melee range to apply the effect. This comes at a bunch of downsides, main one being that if the teammate you're trying to heal is in the thick of combat, you kind of have to get in there too, meaning you're going to be in the live fire, putting you in danger. In a lot of situations, this can be suicidal for the medic, but if you're in a situation where you know there's a low chance of you making it out, you might actually get more value sacrificing yourself to apply the effect. Sometimes that buff is all that's needed to turn the tide in a team fight, and honestly, this is what balances the weapon out. It really would be a shame if for some reason you were able to use this weapon at range, completely ruining the downside of the weapon. What? 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 You've got to be fucking serious. Is that a thing I can do? Hold on. What? I gotta watch that back. Is it the fucking projectile? Oh my god, it's the projectile. Holy shit, what? That's so weird. That's so stupid. Yep, that's right. I fucking broke it again. And this time it wasn't even on purpose. I don't even know why the stars aligned for me to break it, but hey, I did. So here we are with another broken version of the injector. That of course I've been abusing, because why the hell wouldn't I? Want to know how to do it? Well, all you gotta do is shoot your primary weapon at your teammate, and when the projectile is just about to hit them, switch to the injector while holding primary fire. If the projectile hits them, the buff will for some reason still be applied? Why? Why does this happen? Who knows? I didn't make the weapon. Oh, what the hell? I know for sure this works with the stock syringe gun, the Blutsauger, and the overdose, but I'm actually not sure if it works with the crossbow because it was surprisingly difficult to actually get it to work, if it even does. In theory it should, but if it doesn't, then whatever, don't say I lied to you. But still, how the fuck did I break it? You know, even though this bug exists, I still really enjoy using this weapon. Sure, it kinda sucks that I can abuse a decently broken bug that now ruins my entire view of this weapon balancing wise, but the injector is still the most unique melee weapon in Medic's arsenal. Is it better than the Ubersaw? Well, I mean, yes, but in different situations. I think the Ubersaw is still best as an actual melee weapon since it's a killing machine and it grants the user 25% Uber charge on hit, which is just too huge to pass up in a lot of situations. But the injector counters this by giving the medic a sort of mini Uber every 350 HP healed, which equates to about 50% Uber. While this on some mediguns may feel a little bit weak, like in my opinion the quick fix it doesn't work too well on others like the Kritzkrieg and stock, it feels both incredibly strong and incredibly fun to use. I genuinely love this weapon, and I do believe it's the best weapon out of all the Creators.tf weapons that have come out so far. I really do hope that the next batch of weapons is just as unique and strong, and hopefully not as buggy.